What's up, y'all? It's a Project Photography back to another video, and today's episode we're talking about the only two lenses you will ever need for landscape photography. So I just want to preface this video by saying that landscape photography is a niche of photography that does not really require very much gear. All you really need is a decent camera, two lenses, a tripod, and some ND filters, and you're honestly good to go. That's all I really use, and that's all I really need. I really love it, especially because I'm kind of a budget photographer. I don't really have too much money to spend on photography gear in general, so this really helps me out. The fact that I don't need very much gear and I can still get some great photos. This video is about lenses specifically, and the two lenses that I really love, and two lenses that I really think are the only ones you really need. So the first one, to start off with that, is a 20mm or a wider lens. I think this is an amazing focal length. 20mm is probably my second favorite focal length behind 16mm and below, because 20mm or wider, I just feel like that's like the perfect angle to really get and capture everything that you see around you, especially for landscape photography. You want a really wide field of view, and you want to be able to capture every element that you can. Honestly, in terms of wide angle lenses, you just want something that's under 20mm. It could be an 18mm, 16mm, 14mm, preferably anything under 20mm. And you don't want something like a 24mm, because I just feel like it's not wide enough. It's not able to get a ton in the frame. 20mm, on the other hand, is compressed enough to the point where it's not weird and distorty, but it's also enough to be very wide. And there's very rare times when I felt like I really need a wider focal length than 20, but obviously for me, 16 is ideal, because with 16, you're able to accentuate foreground elements and really capture everything that you want. So in terms of the discussion between prime lenses versus zoom lenses, for wide angle lenses, I honestly don't feel like I need zoom lenses, because when I had my Tamron 15-30, I pretty much only shot at the 15mm range. I never went past it, simply because you want the widest angle possible. And if I were pretty much stuck with a 14mm f2.8 from Nikon for my rest of my landscape career, I would be okay with that, because I honestly never shoot past 14mm anyways, except for the fact that I have a 20mm. So whether it's between primes or zooms, you just want something that's wider than 20mm. The benefit of having a prime lens is that the fact that it's cheaper, and I think it makes you better as a photographer, because when you're shooting with primes, you can't just zoom in and zoom out and get the composition you want. You actually have to like walk up and use your legs. And I really like that idea, because of one of my last videos where I shoot landscape photography on a beach. Some inexperienced photographers would have just zoomed their lens up to that point without actually walking, and they would have got a very different image. And I'm actually extremely happy with the image I got, because I had to walk so far, because I had to use my feet to zoom instead of just zooming with my lens. And I just think it's an overall better experience. So maybe in terms of skill, it's actually better to get a prime lens rather than a zoom, but both will do just fine in terms of wide angle. And this is kind of an obvious lens to have, and it's pretty much a staple in every landscape photographer's kit. And now for the not so obvious lens, the 70-300 f4.5 to 5.6. This is probably one of my most favorite lenses. It's probably my most used lens. This was extremely cheap. You want something equivalent to this. It could be a 70-200 f4, something that is a lightweight telephoto zoom, because mainly you want to cut down on weight, and having an f2.8 is just too heavy. And you want to make sure you have the lightest weight possible, because when you're carrying all that gear on your back, you want to make sure you're able to carry it for a long time. And the reason why I love 70-300, 70-200 range is because it allows to have that extra reach and be able to isolate subjects they're not able to do with a 20mm or wider. And as you can see from my example photos, I'm able to isolate certain subjects that I find interesting in the landscape itself. And the fact that it's just so versatile in that aspect. The wide angle is able to capture the entire landscape, while the 70-300, the telephoto, is able to capture specifics in that landscape, able to isolate certain elements. And you can also do a lot of other things with this lens. You could also do a lot of panoramas. You could do a lot of vertical shots, which I really love vertical shots, actually. I didn't think I'd like it until now, but you can do a lot of different things with it. And landscape photography isn't always about getting the wide shot. It's about telling a story and just really showcasing the entire landscape. And you can do that with the telephoto zoom. It's very versatile, lightweight, and it gets the job done. That's the main thing I like about it. These two lenses are pretty much my go-to lenses, and pretty much the only lenses I ever use in landscape shoots. One thing I do want to address is I don't think people should use 24-70s for landscape photography, because first of all, I have never really shot in that mid-range between 24-70. Some of you might have, but I have rarely ever experienced a time where I actually needed that mid-range for focal lengths. 24 is just not wide enough, and 70 is rarely ever long enough. When I'm shooting with my telephoto, it's usually between at least 150 to 300, and a lot of times I am shooting at 300 millimeters just because my subjects are so far away. Whenever I have brought my 20 millimeter and my 24 to 70, I almost never use the 24 to 70 and pretty much just stuck with my 20 mil because I just never felt like the 24 was very wide enough. And honestly, if you just use these two lenses, I guarantee you, you're never even gonna want a 24 to 70, especially if you have a wide angle zoom, like a 16 to 35, it covers most of that range anyways. So 24 to 70 is just not relevant enough. And I see a lot of videos on YouTube talking about why they love 24 to 70 for landscape, and I just don't understand it, quite frankly. So make sure you stick with those two lenses. Make sure you stick with the either 20 millimeter or wider, or a 70 to 300. And when in doubt, just zoom with your feet, because that is honestly better than using a zoom by itself. But for the telephoto, you definitely want to have that zoom option. So anyways, that's pretty much the only two lenses you will ever need for landscape photography. You won't need any more or any less. Those two lenses by themselves cover a lot, and that's pretty much everything you need. So let me know what you guys think about this video. Let me know what you guys think are your favorite landscape photography lenses, and I will catch you guys in the next one.